Hello, why do I keep releasing music despite having no listeners? This video is going to exactly talk about that. So, just to answer that question right away, the main reason for me is because uh, creating and releasing things, uh, so in this case, music, but really any form of art, is like survival. It's like a, a means for survival. It's like food and water is something that I just need to do to um, have the have that meaning in my life. It's what gives me meaning, and just brings me so much joy. Um, and I say creating and releasing because I because releasing is really important for me. I see releasing as something that completes the act of creation. When I make something, I should release it to see that as really complete. So just making something for myself, that's obviously something I do, and I think a lot of artists do, but it's just putting it out there that really um, adds that final touch to it. So that's why I keep using this together. And for me specifically, exactly the act of releasing is what uh, gives me that joy and actually satisfies um, that burning desire for creation. So it's these two things. And in case of releasing music, it's the same thing. I just need to uh, I just need to create and express myself, and I need to release it so I satisfy that desire, and then just keep going, keep doing this over and over again with new songs. So this is definitely the reason I keep doing this despite having no listeners for now. And my hope is to someday actually have other people so I can share my art with them, and they can experience it too. But my main motivation is internal. It's because I just need to do it. So just putting this aside, there's two other things that I wanted to mention related to this, because these two things are two things that I consider as barriers to uh, maybe making uh, my art more accessible, or just helping me make the most out of my art, and really try to, I guess, make it more seen. So the first thing is a tension between wanting to be seen and not wanting to be seen. Um, so the first part, the desire of the desire to be seen, and just wanting to be seen, is kind of obvious. I think you want others to experience your art, as I mentioned it earlier. But that's kind of obvious, I think. But the second part, which second desire, which really conflicts with this, the desire to not being seen, and just not wanting to be seen, something that I really experienced a lot or time. So it definitely comes from fears, and fears of, I think, maybe rejection, or mainly about what others think about your stuff and you specifically. And that's definitely more relevant in my case, because what I create is really, I would say, personal, and it's just about the things I want to express. So at times it can blur the line between me and my uh, creation, what I created. So um, I think that's kind of a problem unique to this type of art. Um, but that conflict is there, and it's also because nothing in life is really um, one-sided. There's nothing is completely good and completely bad. These two coexist in many ways, and this is the same too. Being seen uh, is no different. When you're being seen, or your art is being experienced um, by people, it definitely has that part too, because uh, you could be, you're definitely being judged. You could be misunderstood, and these things happen, and the negative side of things also exist there. And you really have to accept this. You really have to see this as something that can't be really separated. But that's a conflict uh, that kind of acts as a barrier sometimes between um, you know you and really finding your audience, because you're just afraid. So that's something I've experienced a lot too. And the second thing I want to mention is um, more specifically what I create, and the type of art I create. I briefly mentioned um, a bit ago that my art is kind of personal, and is about that self expression. So more specifically, what I do is something I would categorize as um, outsider art. And in case of my music, outsider music, um, which if you're not familiar with it, it's a type of art or music that's really outside of that mainstream uh, pieces of art, and that mainstream view and thought, uh, mainstream framework, I should say. And it's kind of just doing its own thing. It can be self-expression. It usually is. It can be just about anything, but it's not really trying to please anyone, or I don't know, kind of satisfy anyone's uh, desire of what art should be or should not be. And a lot of times they're really innovative, because they're doing things that are not done. They're just outside of a box. They're not trying to fit themselves into a box that the mainstream defines. So that's what I do outside of music, outside of arts, in more broad terms. Um, so, in terms of why I consider this a barrier to um, kind of tagging listeners or having an audience, is because I obviously love it, and it's just the best thing I've found, and it's great that it exists. But I would consider it a barrier in the way because uh, it's just the fact of being outside of mainstream um, can definitely remove a lot of accessibility that might come with it. Maybe accessibility is not um, the right term for this, but maybe expectation. People, like the audience, expects a certain thing from a piece of music when they hear it, um, or a piece of art, and these are usually not really clear even to them. It might be just some, might they're usually very vague, but everyone has might have some kind of expectation of what music should be or should sound, even with all these genres. And an outsider in many ways is very innovative, sometimes intentionally, sometimes maybe not intentionally, and it's not really outside that box. So that can make it hard to promote it and market it and find an audience for it. And the audience, when some people find it, they might reject it, and they might like it, they might not like it. So that's definitely a barrier. But in general, it's, for me, in my personal experience, it's something that's definitely worth it, and um, it's just changed my life when I found that this exists. Like a space exists for uh, this kind of art, type of art that can be raw, real, and can be just focused on true expression without really worrying about uh, I don't know, certain rules or standards. So it's just about the act of creation outside the box, and it can definitely lead to a lot of um, feelings and uh, emotions that can't be possibly described or um, conveyed by the mainstream art. And this, just to make it clear here, I don't really mean that there's anything wrong with mainstream. These two, uh, the mainstream art and the alternative outsider part of things, they coexist, and um, they have meaning together, and there's definitely a need and uh, desire for both. But so what I'm saying is definitely not against that in any way, but it's just something I believe. It's a lot of these things can't be just done in mainstream. A lot of true acts of self-expression and what I call true art, something beyond just uh, you know just surface level expressions of love, and these very cliche themes. We definitely like them and we love them, but they're just cliche, I think art is capable of a lot, a lot of things, a lot beyond these things. So um, a lot of the art I personally enjoy and like uh, is just from mainstream, and I think we all do. But I think there's just so much more to art, and more specifically music, that can be found in outsider and alternative underground scenes. So anything that's outside of that. And yeah, I just want to mention this and kind of go over these things that I've been thinking about for some time. And in summary, this is just why I keep making art, more specifically music, uh, despite having no listeners or no audience for now. Um, but hopefully, my goal is to just, I'm adding to my body of work and things I create, and my hope is to slowly uh, find an audience and find the right audience and the right listeners, who those who enjoy what I do and can find meaning in it. Um, so that's my goal, and that's what I'm working towards. Yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.